Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you in the room or joining us virtually. We're so excited to chat with you today at Curriculum Team Day and review strategies for navigating successful assessment with Dr. Sherell Laster and Samantha Ward. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to a great session of learning. If you have any questions or concerns, please throw those in the chat. We'll be able to monitor those as well. I'd love to introduce our fantastic speakers for you. We have Dr. Sherell Laster, who's currently serving as the Director of Institutional Effectiveness for Lone Star College, where she oversees the assessment of SLOs, PLOs, and collaborates on best practices for institutional planning. Dr. Laster has worked in higher education for over 20 years and enjoys nursing, good faculty relationships, educational assessment, training, and is highly effective in aligning strategic and institutional effectiveness planning. Over the course of her career, she has served as an adjunct full-time faculty member where she served and taught a wide array of business, speech, and communication courses. Her doctorate in education focused on studying the rise, opportunities, and challenges of Hispanic American, African American, and Asian American women in higher educational leadership positions and the need for mentorship. Dr. Laster's most notable achievements to date in higher education are leading a campus through the SAC-COC application process from start to finish, approval of degree programs at a former institution, and the rollout and implementation of the Anthology Outcomes tool across the Lone Star College system. In her spare time, Dr. Laster is an active member at the Houston Lady Lions Club, which is affiliated with the Lions Club International, one of the oldest service organizations in the world. Additionally, she serves as the chair of the Health and Wellness Committee as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. It's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Laster to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Oh, come on, you guys can do better than that. This is a new year, new opportunity, new semester. Good afternoon. One more time, good afternoon. There we go. Thank you so much for joining this session. I have to introduce my co-presenter, my co-chair, my co-pilot, my partner in crime, Samantha Ward. Will you give her a hand as well? This did not feel like work. I mean, we really had a wonderful time working on strategies for assessment. She helped me to really see things from a faculty perspective. And then I was able to talk to her about some of the things that we're trying to do in strategic planning and assessment. So it was really an exciting time. I also want to introduce Manjushree Shankaranayana Shri. She also works in strategic planning and assessment with me. Such a support and help to what we're doing in the assessment space. So hopefully today, on your journey, as you start the new semester, some of these strategies will help you. If one of these strategies can help you to better assess, then hopefully, that is what we're hoping and aiming for in today's session. Okay, so we're going to get started. Just so you know, the rundown is that I'm going to kind of introduce a couple of things, and then Samantha's going to come up and talk about 3 strategies, and then I'll talk about the last strategy, which focuses on the outcomes tool. So does that work for everyone? Yes. Awesome, good stuff. So we'll go ahead and get started. So before we move into the presentation, one of the things I want to highlight that all of the faculty members across the Lone Star College system, if you look at these numbers, it is the work of the faculty members. So in AY 23-24, we assessed 2,000, or you assessed 2,942 student learning outcomes. Can you give yourself a hand for that? We did not do that. We facilitated the process. You did the work, and you did that in the outcomes tool. And one of the other things in our planning tool for program learning outcomes assessment, 1,087 PLOs were assessed in AY 23-24. Can you believe that? That is the hard work of the faculty members, right? So another thing to make note of here is I thought I'd pull in this quote because I think it speaks to what we are trying to do, which is continuously improve, right? It's important that we understand that we're all interdependent, we're all interconnected, right? And everything that we do, every single part of the system is important. So it says here, every student and every course should be viewed as part of a system of interrelated, interdependent parts, and every part should be targeted for continuous improvement. All employees of the institution participate in the system, and the whole system is directed toward improved learning. So much like the parts on a car, if you have 3 wheels, you're not going to go very far, right? Every single part is important. The students, the faculty, the staff, all that we do. So no matter how much we try to operate in silos, we're interwoven, interconnected, interdependent, and we depend on each other. So the 4 strategies, mind you, Samantha is going to talk about the first 3, and then the last strategy I'm going to focus in on. So the first strategy is asking students the right probing questions to determine their knowledge about a particular subject or topic. And then she's going to go into more depth about that. Strategy number 2, develop effective learning outcomes to assess a student's level of understanding. Strategy 3, utilize curriculum maps as a tool for success. Also, there's some curriculum maps on the table. And then strategy 4, maximize the use of the Anthology Outcomes tool to build connections and relationships for assessment. So those are the 4 strategies. That's what we're going to outline for you today. Now, as Samantha Ward makes her way up to the front, I do want to plug a little bit about the program, the Paralegal Studies program that is offered at North Harris. Come on up, Samantha. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it's offered at North Harris campus, rolling out at UP. And this session is interactive, so you have that QR code there. And what we were able to do, which is exciting, is that she allowed us to use her program to facilitate the connections and the relationships of building that out in the outcomes tool, which I'll show you towards the end. So again, Samantha, it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. So she's going to talk about the first 3 strategies.
Okay, so we welcome everybody. Okay. Yeah, we're live now. That's so fun. After 50, y'all don't tell us these things. Okay. Welcome everybody. And I just wanted to say that I am the Director of Paralegal Studies, and we have opened a new office at University Park. And so we're going to be at Lone Star North Harris is going to be our main campus, and then University Park, we're starting the program there. So we are looking at our numbers at University Park. If you have students who want to be in that program, please get them to apply or do it now, right now. We're looking at our numbers and we're like, now. And so we are launching that this spring and fall, and we're so excited to be able to do that. There's a new courtroom over at UP, and I'll be there half the week. So I'm excited. Okay. So what we're going to talk about is questions. All right, I like to go to programs that give me a tool I can use right away at my desk when I get back. So click on your QR code, and I have created a tool for you. I'm going to give everybody a minute to do that. I have created a tool for you to basically, it just gives you ideas. If you are you've been here a long time and you want to change it up, or you need a question, you need to do some questions for your assessment for your classroom or your PLOs, whatever it is, or you just want to do like a syllabus quiz or something like that. This is going to help you ask the right questions. I come from a legal background, as some of you guys know, and we have something called interrogatories. And interrogatories, it's a fancy word for questions you have to answer under oath. That's it. You're under penalty of perjury if you don't answer them right. But it's just questions. Like my students get worried. Like interrogatories is such a big word. It's just questions that you have to answer. Like it's not that hard. But we lawyers love to ask questions that get us a certain answer. And so sometimes if the question is biased or if it's, asked in a certain way, you're going to get something different than if you ask it this way. Y'all know this from polling and from statistics and things like that. So I have created, hello. So I have discipline. So if you scroll down on your thing, okay. All right. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that tool? Okay. So what we also want to do with our question tool is we want to encourage active engagement with our students, right? You're asking questions, you want it to be interactive. Students really don't, some students come for it just to wash over them, but really they're going to learn more about it if you ask those probing questions. Like the Socratic method, maybe, hint, hint. Okay. Align questions to learning outcomes. This is another thing. We're going to tie this right into our presentation. But if you're asking questions, you're going to see if they actually are learning what we promised them we were teaching them. So to me, learning outcomes and any kind of learning outcomes, student or program learning outcomes, to me, it just all boils down to integrity, right? We are promising to teach you these things. If you don't learn these things, then we have not done our job and we have not followed through with what we told you we would do, what we told the state we would do. And so that's really what we're doing. And so you guys are each, whatever program you're in, you're coming up with these things. And if you don't ask them the right questions, how do you know they're actually meeting those learning outcomes? So that's kind of where the questions matter. And then you want to scaffold the questions for complexity. So you want to start with kind of easier ones, and then you want to kind of go a little bit harder just to kind of drill a little bit deeper into their knowledge to see if they have actually gotten out of it what you wanted them to get out of it. These can be questions in class, but these also can be questions on tests. And so I'm just talking about all kinds of questions, not just like survey questions. I'm talking about how do you actually write good questions to get the stuff that you really want to know, right? Even if it's not good news, even maybe you have a hole in something, that's going to help you improve. So, we're always trying to improve. And so this is always our focus. Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Boil that step down to find measurable and observable ways to determine if students understand the concept.
That's right, measurable ways.
That by no question.
Right, and this is but the nitty gritty and the, I guess, boring work of it is actually like finding the question. So I gave you a tool. I like going home from a presentation with something I can use right away. It pays for my gas, sort of, to be able to use a tool that saves me time and money. So anyway, that's what I like to do. So what we want to do, I know that some of you guys are in charge of your learning outcomes, or at least reviewing the ones that you've inherited. But there's some people who may not know how to create learning outcomes. Okay, and for those of you who don't know how to do it, I'm going to give you my process as a director and as a faculty member. Okay, so the first thing I really need to do is I need to know my program. Okay, you need to know your program in and out. You need to have taught most of the classes in your program. So I have taught most of the classes, especially the fundamental ones, in my program, personally, taught them in the class. And if you want to go a little bit further, I know that full-time faculty get to take 1 or 2 classes every once in a while. It's really beneficial to take a class from this college to see what it's like and to feel that pressure and to have that thing when you first start a semester, like, what did I get myself into? Like, that's that feeling that the students have. I think it's important. So at least one time every few years, take a class from us, college, and get that feeling, right? Get that, oh my God, feeling. So anyway, that you need to know your program. So what I know my program inside and out. I know who's teaching what. I know which books that we've picked because I'm in charge of the curriculum. I am the curriculum team. And we only have like 4 or 5 publishers, so there's not, we're very narrow focused. But still, we want to make sure that it's focused on paralegals. And so sometimes when I'm looking for other programs, like I'm thinking about starting a certificate in legal technology, just to kind of add to what we're already doing. I'm looking at other programs, and some of those programs are not paralegal programs. They're like law school programs or master's level programs, but they're not community college programs. So it seems like there's an opening. Anyway, so very exciting. But like that kind of stuff, I want you to go and look at other programs. Don't reinvent the wheel, right? So if somebody's doing something better or, has a structure already, that's what you can do. When we started our weekend program with paralegal, I looked to, because I was like, well, who does weekend programs? I don't really know how to do it. I don't know what times to offer my classes or whatever. So what I thought was, let me look at UT-MBA, because you kept seeing those signs all around, and the Texas A&M MBA programs here in Houston that give weekend classes. And so that's what we did. So we offered things on Fridays and we offered things on Saturdays, and then alternately, and then they could take their asynchronous courses on just during the week or whenever they could do it. So that's kind of what I mean. Be creative, look at other places, see what they're doing better. Make sure that you're going to a conference or two in your field so that you know what everyone else is doing and where you stack up. I'm telling you, every time I go to my conferences with other program directors for paralegal, we're at the top. And with the support that we have with our college, our administration, and our numbers and everything, we are at the top, and we're always trying to innovate though. So we want to go further. And that's where you have to, basically, to me, I always think of a learning outcome as like, this is your mission statement in action, right? This is your drill down mission statement, skills statement in action. Okay. If we say they're going to learn how to do legal research, they better learn how to do legal research, and they better come out of it knowing how to do that, right? Being able to do a petition, being able to do a legal memorandum, being able to know where to go to file something. How do you change somebody's name? That kind of stuff. All the stuff we don't learn in law school. Okay. So I know. So the other thing that you need to do when you're looking at your learning outcomes is reference material. So I use my learning outcomes to look for books. So when I'm choosing books, I want to make sure that those books, I look at the contents, I read several chapters, I look at the study material, I look at the PowerPoints that come with things, and I make sure that they are aligning with our learning outcomes. Okay, so that is a huge deal. And if they're not, or if they do maybe halfway, you maybe need a supplement, or you maybe need to write something that actually fills in any blanks that you want. Because we're all professionals here. We can write books too. So anyway, and then you want to consider the goals and why the program was developed. What is it you're trying to do? Well, we're trying to make sure that we have competent employed paralegals. And the state of Texas just came out with a thing that where on a limited basis, some paralegals can get a license in Texas and represent clients directly, which that hadn't happened before. So that's all coming into effect. So you have to be up on your stuff and be able to offer what the students need when they need it. So if you're not following along with your profession, or if you're not, in those groups, then you're behind the ball. And so that's part of this. And then we already talked about survey other things, and then use your curriculum map. So we have printed off a curriculum map from Paralegal. These are our 5 program learning outcomes. And then obviously each class underneath it will have its own learning outcomes for each class. So that will be the student learning outcomes. But the program learning outcomes, that's like your umbrella kind of, I don't know, what do you want to say, vision statement, but broken down, okay? And so that's all that is. That's all that is. And then every class that's on top right there, if you see that, all the numbers, 1307, all that, okay, those are our classes, and they're kind of actually in order of when students take them. So then you see if you are meeting your learning outcomes on these maps, and if there's a big hole, that's where you need work, right? Or you can revise these, because maybe some of them are a bit redundant, right? You know, you learn how you learn the legal profession, but then you say you learn how to do what government is, right? So there may be some that are overlapping or have the same language. We need to review, I know we need to review the ones that we did with the school districts for our dual credits, because here's another thing, you're gonna need your map when you have a dual credit program, because they're gonna have their own outcomes and you're gonna need to make sure they align. And I think that's called crosswalk, is that right? And so yeah, I mean, all these fancy words, but basically it's, are we doing what we say we're gonna do? Like, that's it, that's really it. And so those are the steps that I go through. That's like, you guys just got like a peek inside my head of what I do when I'm doing learning outcomes, but then how I'm running a whole program based on those learning outcomes, right? Because that's kind of your making sure that whatever you're doing is furthering all those goals. I mean, and that even goes down to like paralegal club, you know, in mock trial. I mean, like, are we doing the things that are going to make those things these come true? So anyway, so this is the curriculum tools map. There are other kinds of curriculum maps. You could just actually have, you know, you could switch them around. You could, yeah, there's all kinds of ways to get this out. That's why you have to know your classes. So see right here, if I didn't know each one of these classes intimately, I'll tell you 1307 is intro to law. So of course we're going to introduce you to all of these PLOs, right? So we're going to touch on each one pretty much every week with every chapter. And what's so cool about education publishers, they know we have 16-week courses. So they give us 16 chapters or whatever it is in our subject. And so, and I always look for that just to make sure that, you know, we're meeting all of those things. But see, you know, there might be some that are kind of, you know, the thing. So legal research, so legal documents, maybe PLO 2 and 3 or maybe can be combined. You know, like we need to review these every once in a while to make sure that we're up on what they're doing. Or say like the state of Texas is going to say, you know, we're getting ready to license some of your paralegals if they want to take the test and go through all the, you know, they have to go through the background check, the whole thing that we had to do. And there's going to be like a bar exam for them. So, okay. So if you hear my students crying, that's the reason. So like, what if we need to put like ethics on here now, right? Because now you're going to be involved straight with the public and you are going to expose them to issues, right? So we're gonna maybe need to either add one or add ethics to one of these, right? So you see what happens when you're fluid and you're always reviewing these. I know it's been like a checkbox thing up until kind of this point, up until Sherell got hired, really. It's been a checkbox thing. But really, everyone else in the whole country is using this as a tool to improve. And basically as a tool to keep the integrity of your program on the up and up, right? Making sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do. Yes.
So for either of you, is it typical for the PLO to be met that many times in a program? Or is it usually 1 or 5, 2, 3 or 4? Is there a general rule of like what you see?
That's a good question.
For a program, how many classes are going to be in a PLO?
Yeah, and you guys, as faculty members, you have freedom and autonomy, right, to assess your program in a way. We typically see between 3 to 5 PLOs per program. And like I said, this map that she's, you know, showing, there's definitely an opportunity for you to look at introduced, reinforced, what content is being introduced, reinforced. By doing this and taking the time to really review your program and align this, you can see where the gaps are. So it depends on the program. I mean, it's not a one-stop shop for all programs, right? Yeah. Hopefully that answers.
It kind of does. I can see how there could be multiple
ways of doing it. Yes.
I didn't know if you had a general pattern of across programs.
That was a great question. And also you don't want to just do the minimum, right? You don't want to just do the minimum. So if you see that this program maybe you've inherited has just been doing the minimum, you need to see what you can do to make this a little bit bulkier, right?
More robust.
Yeah. So, okay, so keep this in, oh, you got a question? Sure.
I just wanted to clarify that this is something you did for paralegal studies.
Yes.
Because math is not something that exists for other disciplines.
No, but you can easily make it. Yeah. Yeah. I just did this, we needed to do it, number one,
Yeah.
but we did it also for this presentation, but we also benefited our program too, because we did it. So, yeah, okay. And it's so much easier when I do my PLO, SLO stuff that I have to do every semester. So this is it. Okay, so keep in mind, keep this in your hand, okay? Because Sherell's gonna tell you about the outcomes tool. So basically what she's gonna be telling you is when she refers to PLO 1, it's gonna be the number 1 on my list here. Okay, you see it? Okay, so that's what you're gonna be doing. And when she refers to SLO, that means it's whatever is underneath like 1307. There's like, we didn't do it all the way down. We could do each class breaks down into, you need to learn this from this class, right? So does that make sense? So this is the umbrella, kind of like the big picture. Okay, so keep this in mind, hold this when she's talking to you about the technical way to put this information into the outcomes tool. Keep this in hand so you can refer back to it so you know what she's talking about. Because she's going to use my program as an example in an old year. Okay? Okay. Okay.
Give Samantha that in. Okay, so before we get into the last strategy, let's kind of just level set and think about everything that we've talked about up until this point. Okay, so we're talking about strategies for successful assessment. 1, asking the right probing questions in the classroom. You have that QR code, it's there on your table as well. It's an interactive session in the fact that you can use all those questions. It's by discipline and you can take that back into the classroom and use that. Number 2, the second strategy was all about developing the right learning outcomes. And I know that some folks will say, Sherell, we need to update our learning outcomes, right? So if that's something that you need to do, think about that and think about what does that look like as a curriculum team, all right? And then number 3, utilize a curriculum map. So we have the gentleman in the back who is asking about curriculum maps. We have several types of curriculum maps on our website. So if you want to see different types, we have some that's way more complex than this. But some faculty have told me, Sherell, we want simple. We don't want the complex. But it is on the website, on our strategic planning and assessment website, if you want to see a curriculum map that is a little bit more complex. Also, if you need some support or some help with building your curriculum map out for your program, then you can definitely talk to me offline. Okay, so the moment that I've been waiting for is to show you the last and the final strategy. The final strategy deals with the outcomes tool. So let me kind of just level set and make sure we're all on the same page. When we rolled out the outcomes tool, we rolled out the tool for section selection and section level assessment. And so if you're not a part of that process, you may say, what does that mean? Well, for example, if you have English 1301 and you have 500 or 200 sections of English 1301, when we initially rolled out the tool, we said, the curriculum team representatives and the chairs, they will actually select the sections for assessment. Okay, and then the faculty will go in the tool and they will actually, enter the assessment data for that section. So initially when it was rolled out, that was all that we did. And it was interesting because, there was many phases in us rolling out the tool. And I was like, oh, I want to get faculty way here. But it was like, no, Sherell, you can't get them way there. But guess what today is? Today is the day that we're going there. So hopefully you guys are ready to go with me. And I see Dr. Britton here. Houston North was one of the first in part of the pilot program. Thank you for agreeing to be a part of that pilot program. So we started small when we were training the campuses on the tool. So now what we're going to do is take Samantha Ward's program and I'm going to show you what it looks like to build connections and relate in the outcomes tool. Now you may say, why would anyone want to do this? Well, I will tell you, the reason why you would want to do this as a curriculum team, because after you have selected the sections for assessment, guess what happens? The data will aggregate up to the course level. From the course, if you build the connections from the course to the program, to the program, to the campus, and we can actually see that data on an institutional level. So if you're a curriculum team chair and you want to see how the program is progressing at all of the campuses, you will have the visibility to do that if you build the connections and the relationships within the tool. Does that make sense? You guys, are you with me? Okay, all right, so let me show you what that looks like. And the gentleman in the back is going to help me so that the folks online can also see the tool and they can see this process. All right, so we're good to go. Thank you so much. So what we're doing now is we're in an old year. We've got some historical data. The data is rolling into the outcomes tool. So we're in AY 22-23, and I will take you to this current academic year, but I want to show you what Samantha and I did before the break. So we actually spent the time to actually build all the connections and the relationships for her entire program within the tool. So you see PLO 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you also see where it says related, right? That's because we built all the connections and made the relationships. So what we're going to do is click on PLO 1. Now, when we click on PLO 1, let me go back to the list just one more time. One thing I do want to highlight before we go. So right now, we're at the highest level for paralegal studies. That means that this is the institutional level for this program. Because you see, when I say institutional, this would be at the highest level, right? Because all of the campuses, CyFair, Houston North, all of these campuses, and I know that Samantha cannot wait for the program to be offered at all of these campuses. Just keep chugging along, we'll get there. But essentially, right now, we're at the highest level for paralegal studies. Okay, so being that we're at the highest level, when we click on PLO 1, okay, so we've already made the relationships. We've already related in the outcomes tool, and I'll show you how to do that. But first, what we're going to do is show you all, it says edit connections, okay? So all of these are the connections that we built. Okay, already. So you see here, PLO 1, but notice it's not at the institutional level. Notice that we have connected, we have related the North Harris program, PLO 1, to the institutional PLO. Okay, we have also related LGLA 1307 and all of the outcomes associated with LGLA 1307. We've also related LGLA 1171. 2305, 1219, and so that what happens is when the faculty member assess those courses, right, or the sections, and those SLOs, all the data is going to roll up to the highest level here. So we were to edit the connections. So here, all we did was build the relationships, right? So this is the North Harris PLO. These are all of the courses. Now, if you look at your curriculum map and that's on your table, and you look at PLO 1, you will see all of these courses are aligned to PLO 1, right? So take a second, if you can look at that curriculum map, you will see that all of these courses, and remember, these SLOs that are tied to the courses, Samantha and I, we already did the work, right? We already took the time to build out the curriculum map, right? And so once this is done one time, you do not have to do this again. Why? Because we can roll over the connections and the relationships within the tool every semester. So what did we just do? Before you ask questions, I want to show this to you again. And then I'm going to show you how we did it in the AY 24-25. So once again, we're at paralegal studies. we're at the highest level for paralegal studies. This would be the institutional level right here. So if we had data here, right, because this was not related before, then all of the results would show here. So if I wanted to see all of my campuses and the PLOs, I would be able to see the data and how we're doing at the institutional level. But now what I'm going to do is click on PLO 2. Okay. And so for PLO 2, notice we related the North Harris PLO 2 to the institutional PLO. And if you look at the curriculum map, you will see that the LGA 1307 with the SLOs, the 2331, the 2303, 2370, and 1345, 1303. All of those courses and the associated SLOs align to PLO 2. Okay, so we've already related all of these PLOs so that when the data would come in, we would be able to see it from a campus perspective, and then from an SLO, from a course, all the data would aggregate up from section to course to program, from program to the institutional level. Now what I'd like to do is show you how to do that. So I worked a little bit backwards, but now I want to show you, if you were going in and had your curriculum map in front of you, what would you be doing? So we're going to go to AY 2425. Okay, we already related the first three. I'd like for you to look at your curriculum map that you have in front of you and look at PLO 4. If you look at PLO 4, so what we did, we clicked on PLO at the institutional level, because remember, we want the data to aggregate up to the section, to the course, to the course, to the program, from the program to the institutional level, meaning that you can see the data for the program for your campus, but we would also be able to see it for the institution. Now what I'm going to do is click connection, and you guys are used to clicking the assign button, but we're actually going to click relate. And now we have the option to relate the North Harris AAS Paralegal Studies Program, okay? And we also, if you look at your curriculum map and you see for PLO 4, can someone tell me what is one of the courses for PLO 4? Okay, and what's the course code? 1307. 1307. So what am I going to do? I'm going to click on 1307. And I'm going to add, okay, because LGLA 1307 directly aligns to PLO 4, because Samantha and I, we already took the time to build out the curriculum map. Give me another course for PLO 4.
Let me ask you this real quick. So all of those SLOs, though, are they, is each one of those SLOs that you have listed aligning with that PLO, or is just one or two of them?
Yes, well, she took the time, this is part of you, so you guys are the subject matter experts of your program, I'm not. So she basically told me this course and this aligns with this PLO. So you would have to do that for your program and build out your curriculum map. So then we're gonna just, for the sake of time, we're gonna just add this, because 1219 was, if you look at your curriculum map, it was 1307, 1219, and then we have 2305. That we're gonna just go ahead and add 2305 as well. And then we're also going to do 1317. And I think 1317, she said that was one of the courses that was not offered or it was not on the list. And then we'll do the 1171. Okay, and so I'm just gonna add that. And then once I submit, notice that the button is going to change and it's going to say related. And take a second to register. There it is. So notice that now PLO 4 is going to say related here. So I want you to marinate on that for just a second. What we did is we built the connections, we related all of the courses to the PLO. And why would we want to do that? Because this allows us to see all of the section level data that aggregates up to the course, to the program, to the institution. So once a curriculum team does this, we can roll over the connections and the relationships from semester to semester. Although the first time, Samantha, I'll be honest, it took a little while for us to do this, right? But once you do it one time, the amount that you're gonna save as far as faculty work on the, in the future, the data is just gonna aggregate up. So, as we're getting close, 5 minutes, I want to say thank you so much. Let's talk more about the outcomes tool. I'd like to see faculty move to the next level. You mastered assessing your outcomes because 2,942 outcomes, that's what you assessed. You assessed that in academic year 23-24 in the outcomes tool, which is, I had to go and check, and I may need to ask Priscilla to get some of that historical knowledge way back, but I think that is the most amount of SLOs that we have ever assessed. So that tells me that faculty are ready to move to the next level in the outcomes tool, and I believe what we showcased today will get us there. Any questions, comments, or concerns or thoughts? Yes, sir.
Could you elaborate on like what the benefits are of looking at this data from a system level?
Absolutely, that is a great question. So we want to see how let's just say for paralegal studies, if that was being offered at all of the campuses, and we're seeing that PLO 1 and 2 students are mastering that at North Harris, but at UP they're not mastering it. I want to get those folks in the same room and collaborate, and let's talk about what's happening over at this campus and what can we implement. Right? So it allows us to see that big picture. It allows us to be able to possibly allocate resources where they're needed. So it's definitely advantageous to be able to see the data from all of the campuses.
So the purpose is to still look at it at a campus level.
Absolutely.
We're not picking some new number that's like one LSC or something.
Well, we are one
Does that make
LSC.
sense though?
Yeah, well, we
I
are.
was thinking about it the opposite way, where it's like, okay, from a system standpoint, you have a certain success, but that would like paper over whether a particular campus is struggling.
Well, also.
But you're saying the point is to compare them and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and also, that's a great point. Another thing is when we report out to our creditor, to our state and all of those things, we get an opportunity. Typically, when we report out from an institutional
So
standpoint.
you do want that figure as well.
Yeah, we want to see that, right? Because we're always looking to continuously improve, right? And this is going to be less work for faculty. You know, faculty are near and dear to my heart because they've told me, Sherell, we have to do committee work. We've got to do our classes. We've got so much. This is less work on the faculty because curriculum teams are only selecting sections, representatives are selecting sections, and the faculty are assessing. All the data aggregates up, right? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to alleviate some of those pain points that we see when it comes to program assessment. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask about the paralegal program.
Sure.
So for each of these SLOs that you're assessing, do you have actually one assessment that each of the students takes, or does each individual instructor create their own assessment that they give out to test the SLO?
Okay, so let me say what we did in the past and what we're doing going forward. What we've done in the past is obviously we picked 1 or 2 classes because we maybe have 2, maybe 3 sections of something. So it's not like, it's really easy to study ours. English, 1301 is crazy, crazy big, but ours is small. So it's usually that we will, we'll have a pre-test and a post-test that are online, and they can do that. And we have one professor create it, and then they share it with the other 2 that are teaching the other 2 sections, and we'll do that. Or sometimes what I do, and I make sure, because I create the course shells, we don't have our professors like the Wild West, creating their own course shells. So, yeah, because we have to make sure that we're staying with, because we're ABA approved, and we have to make sure we're staying within their guidelines. So we actually have to, our learning outcomes are really aligned with those that they give us. So, anyway, so what we do is I'll pop in and look at what the final exam was at in each class, right? And, or I will look at what their big, capstone project was in advanced legal research to see if they're getting what they're supposed to get on their way out. Or we'll do something. And so we'll look at something that's similar across all sections. Either that is what we've done in the past, but in the future, we're going to do more post-test, pre-test, like just for assessment, just for this. I don't know which one's better.
Assessment that you'll give to all students.
Yeah, so they'll just have to get in and do it. That's like part of their assignment, and they just don't realize that that's going to be something we're going to report on. But yeah, so that we're really drilling down and making sure of those things. That's what the questions are so important. So yeah, so that's what we're doing too.
I asked because at my prior institution, also a community college, we had one assessment, depending on how many SLOs, but one assessment per SLO that we piped out to every student in that section across all campuses. But when I came to Lone Star, it was each instructor makes their own assessment to give to their own students.
Oh,
So,
no, like I'm a control freak. No, it's me. I'm the one who's making stuff, and I'm the one who's going into everyone's class and looking at to make sure. Also, it's going to make sure that your professors are not just giving all A's, right? Make sure that they're not, grade inflation. Make sure that what if you get data that all of the Hispanic people are not in your program are not doing well? Well, there's one professor that's given, and you go and you see patterns. I'm sorry, I mean, you just do. And we've had to not ask them back, let's say it in a nice way, because we have a couple of, anyway, it's too much. But anyway, there's a couple of professors that had a idea of hazing, I guess, right? I went through a hard paralegal program, so I'm going to make you go through a hard paralegal program. And that's not the attitude that we want to have. We don't want to make our students cry. It's not law school, I promise, it's not. And so anyway, that was, so we can look at that kind of stuff, and that's really where those things pop up. So yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. We have another session at 2 p.m. I'm here for questions, but I do want to real quick, the feedback survey, we want to hear from you. Please take the survey so that we're always looking to continuously improve. And one last thing, Executive Director Jeff Roberts, he gave me something to give the gentleman in the back. He said disaggregated data. The reason why we would want to see that at a system level is not just the aggregate, but also the ability to be able to drill down. So see me after this session. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great semester.